Hello everyone, welcome to Dr. Tom's Tutoring Sessions. My first series is titled The American Civil War Era, and these video lectures are intended primarily for undergraduate university level students. I know there are quite a lot of A-level students in the UK who are studying this topic, as are most high school students in the US, but you should be aware that the content in this series does not follow those course specifications. It lacks content which is considered common knowledge, which university students are expected to have, and sixth form and high school students are not. This series also includes a lot more information relating to the topic than A-level scholars are expected to know or understand. That doesn't mean it will be entirely useless to A-level students or high school students, as it will deepen their understanding of the topic. I also expect that general viewers who are interested in the American Civil War, of which there are many, will very much enjoy watching this series owing to its in-depth level of detail, and I most certainly welcome any feedback from you. Okay, so here we go. This video is just an introduction to you about this series, an introduction to the American Civil War as a topic, and also a brief introduction as to who I am, as I will be serving as the sole lecturer for this series. The American Civil War is a highly controversial yet engaging subject, which you will definitely find interesting as I take you through the content. It remains the single most popular subject of history in the United States, with books on the American Civil War outselling all other subjects of history combined. It also remains a highly subscribed to undergraduate course at American universities, with many students choosing to pursue it at postgraduate level. It is, likewise, an increasingly popular subject in the UK. In all honesty, I don't feel that this subject has ever been taught 100% correctly at any American university, nor British one. I have read through quite a lot of syllabi and am aware of how universities have taught this topic both past and present. Hear me out on this one. For a long time, university courses on the American Civil War focused very heavily on the military events, commanders' tactics, and not enough on the social and political aspects of the conflict. There was too little emphasis on the causes of the war, nor the subsequent fallout, Reconstruction. When we reached the new millennium, university courses titled The Civil War started being replaced with new ones titled The Civil War Era. I think this change was both positive and negative. On the plus side, there was a far greater emphasis on the causes of the war and a much more appropriate focus on how the war transformed America politically, both during and after the conflict. And the focus expanded to include the experience of blacks and women, all of which are required. However, this new approach presented a new problem. The war itself as a military conflict and the scores of significant generals and admirals became largely neglected. Whilst I commend the non-military additions, I feel that a complete lack of emphasis on the actual conflict has been detrimental to how the subject is taught, as has, more recently, a lack of the emphasis of the actual conflict itself. Like it or not, history is a three-legged stool: social history, political history, and military history. Throughout history, social and political events have caused military events, wars. In all cases, what happened on those battlefields directly resulted in the development of new social and political issues, bringing significant changes to society. Translate: if you remove the actual events of war, the scars they placed on American society, and the battle-hardened veterans who went home afterwards and contributed again to their respective societies, you have effectively withdrawn crucial elements of the story you are trying to impress upon intellectual minds. If you remove one leg from the stool, it collapses. It is impossible to understand social, political, or military history without understanding all three. This is what makes my series very unique. We will cover the causes of the American Civil War in depth, the problems within American society from its creation through to 1860, and the political strife which sectionalism caused. When we get to 1861, we will cover the war's military events in depth, and we will certainly not focus just on the main battles and campaigns, but smaller ones as well. We will learn about the commanders on both sides, the political activities occurring in Washington and Richmond, as well as in London and Paris. In fact, we will even cover the debates in Britain and France regarding whether or not to get involved on behalf of the Confederates, and we'll do so in great depth. We will investigate the variety of ways in which civilians, both North and South, were impacted by this war. We will do the same for the people of Britain. Finally, we will look at the period of Reconstruction after the war's end. I can guarantee that these sessions will help any undergraduate student develop a far more in-depth understanding of the subject, a higher grade on their exam. And to help prove this to you, I will tell you a bit about my background. Although I have lived in the UK for over 20 years, I grew up in Virginia and South Carolina, where a huge chunk of the American Civil War, both politically and militarily, took place. And I've been absolutely fascinated in the subject since I was about 10 years old. I got my bachelor's degree in history from the Virginia Military Institute, class of 2001, and it was while I was at VMI that I became determined to be a lecturer in American Civil War history, and also very interested in the subject of American race relations, particularly the institution of slavery and civil rights. I earned my master's degree in history from the Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, better known as Virginia Tech, where I spent most of my studies within their Virginia Center for Civil War Studies. I wrote my master's dissertation under the supervision of Dr. James I. Robertson, Jr. and William C. Davis, two of the leading academic scholars of the subject. My dissertation, focusing on the impact of a Union regiment from Michigan, has since been published. After serving as a research fellow at the American Civil War Museum in Richmond, Virginia, I moved to England to pursue my PhD at Queen Mary University of London, where I wrote a doctoral thesis on Union and Confederate propaganda in Britain during the American Civil War. I am the leading historian of Britain's roles in the American Civil War, having published a book, Persuading John Bull, a chapter of an edited volume, 3 articles in academic journals. I've also written 3 articles in magazines, including BBC History and BBC Knowledge. I've served as key historian for 3 BBC Radio 4 documentaries, as historical consultant for 2 films, and I've been consulted by the media, most notably the BBC, on numerous occasions on the topic of the American Civil War. I've lectured on the subject of American history at Queen Mary University of London, the University of Westminster, the University of the Highlands and Islands, and also at Oxford. Put simply, this will be the most thorough lecture series on the American Civil War ever put on YouTube. Well, that's enough for an introduction, so let's now move on to the next video, where we will start plowing through the plethora of material this fascinating topic covers.